The yelling started before Jordan Avery even sat down. He hadn't expected a warm welcome. He was 16, traveling solo, and used to being overlooked, but he didn't expect to be targeted either. That morning at Sacramento International Airport had begun with little fanfare. Security was smooth, his carry-on slid through the scanner without issue, and his gate was only a short walk from the terminal coffee stand where he'd bought his usual iced tea, no lemon. The kind of day that should have stayed uneventful. But it didn't. Jordan wasn't trying to make headlines. His idea of a perfect flight was low-key plug-in headphones, pick a playlist, maybe zone out to some lo-fi jazz until the plane touched down. No eye contact, no drama, no conflict, just peace. He just wrapped up a quiet week in Reading visiting his grandmother, who was recovering from knee surgery. He'd helped her with groceries, watered the garden, and programmed the confusing new TV remote she kept threatening to return. Nothing flashy, just being there, which is what his mom always said mattered most. But the moment he stepped on the plane, something felt off. It wasn't anything loud, just a look from the gate agent who barely glanced at his ID. The tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. The way her fingers hesitated a fraction too long before handing over his boarding pass. The flight was only going to Phoenix, a short hop before his connection home to Atlanta, but already felt longer than it should have. Jordan reached row 14 and paused. Someone was in his seat. Seat 14A. A window. His favorite. The view during takeoff always made him feel weightless, like possibilities were infinite even, if only for a few minutes. But the man occupying 14A, it didn't move. He wore noise-canceling headphones and leaned against the window, eyes closed like he'd claimed the seat since birth. Jordan double-checked the ticket on his phone. Then again, that's when the flight attendant appeared. She was in her early 50s, with tightly pinned blonde hair, flawless makeup, and a name tag that gleamed in the overhead lights. R. Delaney. Her expression wasn't unfriendly, just unreadable, like she'd made up her mind about him before he spoke a word. "Excuse me," Jordan said, holding up his boarding pass. "I think there's someone in my seat 14A. She didn't even glance at the ticket. "No, you're in the back." Jordan blinked. "I'm pretty sure this is what the app assigned me." "There was a gate change," she snapped, her voice sharpening. "Don't argue. Take your seat in the rear, or you'll be removed." Several passengers nearby turned to look. A woman clutched her handbag tighter. A man in the next row raised an eyebrow. No one said anything. Jordan felt his chest tighten not with fear, but with the suffocating pressure of being seen as a problem. Still, he kept his voice level. "Ma'am, if you could just scan the pass." I said go sit in the back. She took a step forward. Jordan felt it, then that switch in the air, the moment a situation turns. He knew it well. He'd grown up learning how quickly a calm tone could be mistaken for disrespect, how silence could be called aggression. He pulled out his phone and called his uncle. "Uncle Marcus," he said, barely above a whisper, "I need you." The voice on the other end was immediate, composed, already moving. "Tell me everything." Jordan explained, the yelling, the refusal to scan his boarding pass, the threats. "You're not raising your voice?" Marcus asked. "No, sir. I haven't moved from the row." "Good. Stay where you are. I'm calling Blue Jet's legal team. Tell me the flight number." BJT 4312 to Phoenix. Passengers began murmuring now. A woman a few rows up said, "I saw him. He was calm." She jumped all over him. Delaney was now talking into a walkie, voice clipped. "Passenger in 14A is refusing crew instruction. I need assistance." Another attendant approached. He was older, graying at the temples, and looked uneasy. "Sir," he said to Jordan, "can I see your pass?" Jordan handed it over. The man scanned it and stared at his device. "You're right," he said quietly. 14A is yours." The manifest was updated. "It's in the system." Delaney stiffened. "That's not possible. The earlier manifest was overridden. This is the current list." The cabin quieted. Jordan sat. He didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He just took his seat, placed his phone in his lap, and exhaled. Delaney stormed down the aisle. Passengers watched. Some leaned forward. A few pulled out their phones. Someone's going to regret this, a man muttered. Back in Oakland, Marcus Avery, civil rights attorney, former federal litigator, was pacing his office, Bluetooth in one ear, legal docs on screen. He didn't just work civil rights. He lived them. And this wasn't just another case. This was his nephew. "Give me Blue Jet's legal department," he told his assistant. Already ringing. Meanwhile, on the plane, a younger flight attendant knelt beside Jordan's seat. "I saw everything," she said softly. "You didn't do anything wrong. I'm so sorry." Jordan gave her a tight nod. He wasn't ready for words. Minutes later, the pilot's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been advised of a personnel issue and will be returning to the gate." A murmur rolled through the cabin. Airport security boarded shortly after. They didn't come for Jordan. They came for Delaney. The supervisor, a tall woman in a navy blazer, called her to the front. She didn't look at Jordan as she passed. 10 minutes later, the supervisor returned alone. "Mr. Avery," she said, kneeling so she wasn't towering, "we apologize. You've done nothing wrong. The crew member involved won't be continuing this flight." Jordan met her eyes. "Why did it take a phone call for you to listen?" She hesitated. Sometimes it takes one voice to wake up the others. As the plane finally prepared to take off, another attendant returned. "We'd like to move you to first class," she said. Jordan stared at her. "It's not a reward," she added. "Just quieter." He stood. "Walk forward." The other passengers didn't just watch, they nodded. One raised a fist in silent support. Jordan took his seat in 2A. From there, he could see everything. But even as the plane rose into the sky, the real story was just beginning. By the time they landed, video clips had gone viral. Twitter threads, Facebook posts, passenger testimonies. The caption that hit hardest? "Teen wrongly accused on Blue Jet." This is what really happened. Back in Phoenix, a PR rep greeted Jordan with a forced smile. "We apologize. We'd like to offer you a voucher for future travel." Jordan blinked. "That's it. We're reviewing procedures." "Did you watch the video?" A pause. "Yes." "And you're still standing here with a voucher?" She didn't respond. In Oakland, Marcus drafted a response. He didn't sugarcoat it. My nephew was calm, respectful. He followed instructions. But that didn't protect him. What did? A phone call. And that should trouble every American who believes in fairness. The essay went viral. Blue Jet stock dropped the next morning. Jordan tried to return to normal, but the world wouldn't let him. His face was on talk shows, news alerts, podcasts. His mom, Trina, met him at the Atlanta gate with a hug that didn't end. "You okay?" she asked. "Not great, but good enough." She didn't say anything else. She didn't have to. That week at school was strange. Everyone looked twice. Some said, "You're that kid." One teacher offered to talk. Jordan didn't want to be a hero. He hadn't asked for this. But something had shifted. Not in the world, at least, not yet. In him. He started journaling again. Quiet pages filled with thoughts that didn't need to be shared. At least not yet. When Marcus asked if he wanted to pursue legal action, Jordan shook his head. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because I want people to think, not just react." And people were thinking. Letters came in. Strangers from across the country. A retired teacher from Ohio. A mother from Baltimore. "You reminded my son that staying calm is strength," one wrote. Another, "You didn't yell. You didn't break. You just stayed human." Jordan kept the letters in a shoebox under his bed. Weeks passed. The noise faded. The world moved on. But the story stayed. And in one quiet moment, Jordan opened his laptop and typed. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is not give them what they expect. He saved the file. Maybe he'd share it later. Or maybe he wouldn't need to. Because sometimes the most powerful protest isn't a shout. It's a seat. Taken and held.